Cool.
Thank you, Brittany, and welcome to the SRS booth. How cool is this? Thank you for taking a moment and visiting with us. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and I am the president and CEO of the coffee shops, but particularly Roofers Coffee Shop. So be sure to check us out. We're a full website and podcasts, webinars, everything you need to grow your business in construction. But today, we're here to talk about what's going on in the industry. This is our coffee conversations, and our coffee conversations are all about thought leadership and really talking about what's happening. Yesterday we had a group of contractors up on the stage. Today we have technology and manufacturing specialists who are really going to be able to share what they're seeing across the industry, not just in roofing, but overall in building across many trades that are up here. So let's ready to get started, gentlemen? Okay. For our folks out there who we are streaming to YouTube, this is Coffee Conversations, and my name is Heidi Ellsworth. Thank you for being here today. We are going to be talking with leading experts in the technology and manufacturing about what's happening. So we're glad you're all here, and we're glad you're all here in this live audience. Let's start out with some introductions. Can you start us out, Chris? Introduce yourself and tell us about your company.
Yeah. Great to be here, Heidi, and thanks to SRS for hosting the panel. I'm Chris DiPatria, head of sales for Hover. If you haven't heard of Hover before, we're an intelligence property platform. Our mission's simple. We're trying to make the homeowner journey much easier, much more transparent, and much quicker than they're used to in the past. We developed a technology where essentially we can take a couple iPhone photos and create an extremely accurate 3D model of the entire exterior of your home. So from roofing to siding to doors to windows to trim, we've kind of set the gold standard in the industry for measurements. We've now moved into last year more of a platform, so more of an end-to-end platform where we can help your business with marketing with our 2D design. We can do our 3D in-home to help your sales reps actually sell. Then we do our measurements, which I mentioned. We can do automated takeoffs and estimations and write into proposals and sign contracts. We sell to both the construction and roofing space as well as the insurance side. So we're on both sides of the fence there. We have about 10 million homes in our database today. And we see that people that use or roofers that use our platform save about 2.5 hours of manual efforts when using the end-to-end platform.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Eric.
Hello, my name is Eric Fortenberry. I'm the founder and CEO of JobTread. So we're a construction estimating project management software. We originally started the company after I built and sold the first version of it at a GC in 2018. We started this 2019, built for a few years. We actually launched it at IBS in 2021. It was IBS X the year they went virtual. Didn't quite work out so well. People couldn't log in, but nonetheless, that was our market entrance. And 5 years later, as of yesterday, we actually just reached our 10,000th customer. So really excited to have that full circle.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, so again, everything from helping you to sell your jobs, build out your budgets, know your numbers, accurately price those jobs, collecting all the signature or the selections, letting the customer kind of choose, which single. Do you want the good, better, best? Do you want the gutters? Like all that. We give them a very interactive user interface there for them to make those selections, ultimately help you collect that signature, get the job moving forward, and then all the project management, estimate or scheduling, tasks, to-dos, and then ultimately we end with the back office getting paid with your invoices, paying out all your vendors, managing all that. So it really is intended to be an end-to-end solution, and we're so excited to see so many people being able to benefit and better grow their business.
I love it. Thank you so much. And Mitch.
Hello, hello. Can we tell Home Depot to keep it down over there a little bit? Hi, everybody. My name is Mitch Heitch. I'm a sales manager for Westlake Royal Building Products. Our booth is actually just right over there. Very honored to be on the stage with the technology-driven side of the business right now. We are a manufacturer of building products, so we operate in the building product space. Really high-end specialty, builder grade, anything you're looking for. We have different solutions, including our roofing solutions, where we manufacture synthetic lines with our Da Vinci line. We have our concrete line line with New Point and our stone-coated metal with Unified Steel. We also have stone solutions with Eldorado and Cultured Stone. You might be familiar with those names.
Yes.
We have our siding solutions as well. So a lot of different solutions. Our slogan this year is every piece matters, because we're able to offer pretty much every piece for the home.
Yeah.
That's the elevator pitch. Like I said, we're the manufacturing side, so honored to hear the insight of the technology side of the business here too today.
I love it. So Mitch, keep that microphone. We're going to start out with, we're in day 2 of the International Builder Show, and I would love to hear, Mitch, what you have been seeing at the show and some key trends, things that different, or maybe things that you're hearing from contractors asking. Just kind of, what's the buzz?
Yeah, really good question. Outside of the traffic, that is probably the most thing I've been seeing. This show is always impressive every single year. There's always new things that come out here. You want to talk about trends in the industry in general. I think software and technology is a big part of that, so I'll let those two talk to that in a much bigger way. From the product standpoint, I think we're seeing a heavy push to more resilient products. It is a lot less about the cheapest cost and more so about homeowners and builders and whoever it might be demanding more of the products that they're putting on, both from an aesthetic but mainly from a performance factor, because what we're seeing is insurance is driving the conversation. I don't think that's a secret to anybody in this room. So really we're looking at higher performing products. How do we get them to the marketplace? We're in a little bit of a slower downturn right now with where business is at, and I think that it's really shifting the focus to just what can I get and how quickly can I get it and how cheap can I get it, to how do we elevate the material that we're getting out into the marketplace?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we're hearing a lot through the coffee shops is contractors are really diversifying and differentiating themselves, and how they're doing it is with performance. Instead of that roof that has to be replaced after every hurricane, how can we get a roof on that is going to last?
And there's a place for all of it,
right?
I do want to kind of put that caveat out there that I think that there is a time and a place for every material that's out there. Not everyone can afford the best. So you have to have those economical options for the industry. But really there has been a big shift, a little bit outside of the new construction space and more into the repair and remodel space this year. And so as homeowners are upgrading their homes, right, they're looking for what's the next best thing.
Yeah, exactly. Eric, what are some of the trends and hype that you're hearing?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to what you're seeing here. I mean, there's a lot more pressure on the contractors to perform, and just pressure on the margins. We see a lot of people who are again continuing to manage their business in inefficient ways. They're realizing that they need to implement systems and technology to be able to keep up with everything that's going on in the industry. I think one of the really exciting things that we're also seeing, and through our partnership with SRS and Home Depot, just the ability to integrate with the suppliers. There's a huge focus on leveraging data, being able to create the most streamlined, efficient processes, because you all have to do more with your same resources. And so that's where, again, allowing you to get real-time pricing, availability, directly order, once you've won that job, just submitting those orders electronically. I mean, it really does cut down on a lot of the back and forth and the time. And so, at the end of the day, we see contractors wanting to be able to keep up with the times, everything going on with AI, all of that, it's leading to this new interest in how can technology make us better and how can we do more with less.
I agree. We're seeing that it's all about productivity and about the workforce that's out there, and bringing it all together. And SRS, what we're seeing on that front is wild. And so, Chris, exactly the same thing. What are you seeing? What's caught your attention?
Yeah, so the biggest trend that we're seeing is the shift this year from manual to digital workflows.
Yep.
That's an obvious thing for the crowd, of course, here, but there's a big push from private equity coming into this space. That trend's going to continue. revenue, right? And that's basically increasing competition, that's increasing the cost per lead and putting a lot of pressure on margins. So the best way for roofers to combat margins is using technology and really leaning into technology, not being scared of it. So, instead of taking 30 minutes to measure a roof, you can use Hover and it takes 2 minutes, right? So being able to really standardize your tech stack, have a great flow from start to finish, and have all your reps operating in the same capacity can really help on the margin side and help combat the PE push.
That is definitely a trend, right? The mergers and acquisitions, and it's not just in roofing, we're seeing it in across the trades. And how are you, there's kind of two sides of it. Are you positioning your business? Are you getting your business so it can compete? Right? There's a couple of different ways that we're looking at. So let's, I want to talk just a little bit about, it's kind of a little bit of a slide to the left, but I want to talk about the economy. The economy right now, we're hearing a lot of different stories depending on what regions you're in, whether it's a little bit slow, it's a little bit right there with like that 1 or 2% growth. But you gentlemen get the view of the whole country and probably North America and beyond. What are you seeing across the country? And Chris, I'd love to start with you, just on the economy and kind of how the contractors, what are they doing to really take themselves to be in the lead for the jobs that are there?
Yeah, I think we saw in 2025, that was one of the worst storm years that we've had in the last decade, right? So all of our contractors that focus on restoration really felt that pain. And now a lot of our conversations are focused around, how can we help kind of guide them into the retail side of the business, right? And really kind of control more of their own destiny. Whereas, you're just waiting on storms, that can be difficult. We saw it happen last year, right? So I think a big push that we're seeing with the economy, just being able to kind of have two different varieties of kind of what you go after. And then when you get into the retail space, it's obviously a totally different beast. So using different tools and technology to compete, to be able to compete on leads and close rates and get your margins to where they need to be. But we're seeing a shift there in mentality.
That's right. And I'm also curious, with your technology, we have contractors, builders, remodelers all the way across the country who are gathering these great pictures and getting visualizing what their homes could look like. What are you seeing that way too? I mean, just on the remodel front, it seems like people are, since COVID, still kind of staying at home and wanting to build out their outdoor living, build up their home space.
Yeah, I didn't want to drop too many stats on you, but I will give you one here. So we have a survey where 74% of homeowners want to see a visualization before they purchase or make a commitment. Right, so if you can show someone what their home is going to look like, show them what the different siding's going to look like. We do exterior and interior, but there's a bunch of tools that can help you on the visualization side. That's a big game changer. Homeowners want to see contractors and roofers using technology, right? I mean, obviously you mentioned this, the push to AI. People are expecting to see something visual now, and that's been a big differentiator.
Yeah, it's really, we're seeing that contractors, whether they're builders, remodelers, exteriors, they are looking to grow their business, grow what they can offer. And I'm sure, Eric, I would love to take that question to you. What are you seeing as contractors, or kind of, first of all, what are you seeing with the economy, and then how the contractors are reacting to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely seeing that there is a little bit more of a challenging time for people. Again, the margins are tighter. You have to be more competitive. But at the same time, I can tell you that, we see just an endless number of customers who have set themselves up to position themselves as the industry leaders, as the businesses that can still deliver a great customer experience. And I think those are the people who are continuing to win jobs. They're continuing to have a backlog. They're continuing, to be able to deliver. Really the strength of the economy is more so just a test of the strength of each and every one of, the contractors' businesses. And when they focus on that operational efficiency, they focus on delivering a great customer experience and earning those 5-star reviews. They build their reputation. Like at the end of the day, that is going to stand you out much more than any other thing. There is more demand than there is supply to get the work done, and people do want to continue investing in their homes. They're staying right where they're at, and so to the extent that, again, this is an opportunity for all contractors to step up, to level up, and to figure out how they can continue to be the market leader in their area.
And I know, Eric, that JobTread does a lot with landscapers, with outdoor living. We talked about this yesterday with the contractors, that we are seeing contractors expand into other areas. areas. So maybe they do roofing, siding, and windows, but now they're also talking to those same homeowners about, hey, what can we do with your outdoor living space, whether it's kitchens or whatever. What are you seeing that way?
Yeah, no, we're definitely seeing, I mean, kind of the Job Trade was intentionally set up to work for any type of construction business. Whether you're building new homes, you're doing remodels, you're putting roofs on, you're building pools, decks, like at the end of the day, like it is a very flexible system. And so we're starting to see a lot more contractors though who, they're adapting to their local markets. Maybe your primary business is roofing, but you realize you're building a great relationship with the homeowner, and there may be other opportunities, whether it's to go inside and remodel the kitchen, whether it's to do an addition for them, whether it's to, fix up their deck. Like, at the end of the day, like it's all about being able to meet your customers where they're at and to deliver on what they need. And so when you create those really strong relationships, I think that's giving a lot of contractors opportunities to expand and to get into other areas. And that's where I think Job Trade's really strong, is being able to allow you to run any type of job out of there.
Yeah, and we are seeing that with general contractors, especially in the residential side of it, general contractors who are building, remodeling, doing the outdoor. I mean, and they're also coming into the roofing and siding and space. Yep. And so it's really been interesting. So Mitch, I mean, you are all over the country. With your products, go everywhere. What are you seeing across the country?
Yeah, so touching on the economy first,
yeah,
and then going into how contractors are dealing with it. I like the point Eric made, right? Relationships, that is huge to what we do. But economy in general is very regional at the moment. If I'm going to talk about Florida for a second, I know I do go kind of all over the place, but if I'm talking about Florida, because that's where we're at, there's always that hurricane hangover that typically comes after a storm, right? Yeah. So you get that mass influx of business. We're rocking and rolling. We're firing on all cylinders. We pull a lot of business forward, and then we kind of go into that hangover phase. As it was mentioned, this is the first year last year in 10 years we haven't had a storm. Yeah. So imagine going on a 10-day bender and then the hangover that comes from that. We are in a hurricane hangover in the state of Florida. We have definitely seen a massive slowdown from that aspect, and so it creates a little bit of a need and necessity. Let me talk about what the contractor is doing and what they should probably be doing, right? Because what I would say is what the contractor should be doing is focusing on margins, focusing on product, focusing on leveraging the relationships. What we are seeing in the field is almost the opposite. We see a race to the bottom, right? We are seeing that things are slow. And look, I would love to say that, hey, we got to go with the best product. That's just not what's happening in the field right now. We're seeing people driving to the bottom. They're sacrificing quality. They're sacrificing margin. They're going to the bottom because it's slow. They need cash flow. They need the business to stay open. And so it's really about leveraging the relationships. It's about trying to get yourself into that premier space. And how do you differentiate and separate yourself from the massive pool that is here? Getting outside of the state of Florida, economy-wise, we're in a whole different state now. Yes, there are storms out in the Midwest. We have hurricane or hail-related storms. We have blizzards. We have all that. I think what we're seeing in other parts of the country are much more government-impacted economy things. When we start talking about certain areas, I think if you want to have an accurate data set to go back to what the market should be in your local region, you got to go back to 2018, 2019. Yeah. Because this shift happened, and obviously we don't want to talk about the COVID word that much here, but we saw mass influxes of people leaving certain states and coming into other states, Florida, Texas. Those regions saw huge demand in new construction, in purchasing old existing homes and remodeling them. It was gangbuster in the 2020, 2021 era. And then we got into hurricane mode and things like that. And now we're in an era where things are leveling out from the migration aspect, but we're seeing, calling a spade, immigration. Yeah. ICE raids, things like that are happening. That is impacting the labor force hugely in certain markets. And so what you have is the contractors that aren't afraid to go out of their home and go to work are recognizing that, and the prices that they're charging are inflating the market just purely on the labor pool.
Because we can't fill those labor spots.
It's tough.
Can't do the work.
It's tough. Look,
Yeah.
I grew up in the generation of don't be a ditch digger. Go out and get a degree and do something more with your life. And I think we have a huge gap in the trades. Looking back on it, I wish I would have gotten into roofing when I was 17 years old and hate to say it, not gone to college. I probably would have been way better off than I am now. But, it is a huge generational gap in the trades. And I think we're seeing the younger generation coming up with that, which is also driving the technology factor, right? We're seeing people that want to be involved in the AI software, in the visualization. I didn't know that stat. 75% of homeowners want to see the product on the home before they actually buy it or sign a contract. That's a huge statistic.
Right.
That was not the old way that we used to do business, right? It was, let me go sit in the kitchen with you for 4 hours, talk to you about all this. Maybe I put a couple samples up on the roof or on the wall, and we have this whole big meeting. It's a quick sale, and it's a virtually driven sale.
Yeah, it's, you hit on so many points, and this really is, our labor force is key to what we're trying to, we have demand. Are we able to fulfill it? And I think that is one of the things that's kind of really, people, when I ask that tough question, what do you see in the economy? It depends on the region, and it depends on really what you're talking about, because some places just can't, their backlogs are really long because they don't have the people to put the roofs on, or to build the homes, or to do the outdoor living spaces. So really what I constantly hear is technology. Technology is what we have to be looking at to fill this gap, along with obviously really strong career technical education and the trades. So Eric, I would love to kind of switch this conversation back to technology and really what you're seeing for construction companies as they are dealing with the labor shortage, dealing with a little bit of a soft economy. I'm not going to say everything out there says we're pretty even, 1% to 2% growth, but that's still soft, to Mitch's point, compared to the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's hard right now to build a great team, employees, it is a big challenge. And so we see a lot of contractors who are shifting a little bit more to that hybrid model, where they're leveraging subcontractors, they're having to partner with others out there who, they can hopefully, deliver on the labor side. But it is a huge challenge, and there's no way getting around it, and I think when you're in that situation, it puts even more pressure on you to better manage your scheduling, manage the jobs, and make sure that you're actually able to deliver, because at the end of the day, the last thing you want is to overpromise and underdeliver. It's all about making sure that you can keep all of your challenges away from the customer and from their experience. And so you just need to be more strategic, really try to build as big and as strong of a bench as you can, and so I think the subcontractors and the trade partners are a great avenue that we're seeing more and more contractors leveraging.
And I want to kind of, what we are looking at with SRS, with Roof Hub, really is one of those, I think, where it brings so many different people together. One of the folks who you'll see over here is Tool Belt. We don't have Tool Belt up here right now, but there's a lot of different solutions along with Hover and JobTread that are kind of coming from all different directions within that Roof Hub to provide those solutions. Can you talk about, Eric, I want you to kind of take this a little bit further on the importance of that, of understanding the technologies and having trusted partners.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you give your partners, your team the right tools, the right technology, you also have to make sure that they're trained on it. You have to make sure that they understand what are your SOPs, your operating procedures. How do you want them to get information, to report information back to you? I think, again, when you have a very limited supply of labor, you have to make sure that you, as the business, are operating extremely efficiently. You have to set those people up for success. If they show up to the job site, they don't have the plans, the specs, they don't know what to do. Again, we don't have the luxury of wasting time right now. And so the better that you can equip everyone involved in the process with the information and the tools and the technology, it's going to help those jobs go even quicker so that you can move on to the next one. At the end of the day, though, it is about making sure that you've set yourself up and your team up for success.
Right, and taking those. So talk a little bit, you were talking during the introduction about the platform that you've brought in. We see a lot of platforms out there that are starting to be able to take us from the beginning, from the bid, or even that first lead call, all the way through to the warranty and the referral. What are some of the things that you're seeing technology-wise here within Hover and across the board that are helping contractors with their productivity and also being speed to lead?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and actually goes into the labor shortage as well. So if you have a really tight process, and let's say your tech stack is one or two tools that you're using, people coming into your business now may not be 20-year vets. They might be new to the industry in general, right? So the question is, how quick can you ramp someone new to the business, right? And to do that is really going to be through very tight processes and really good technology, right? Because if you have someone coming in and say, all right, you have to write this down on paper, then you have to do this takeoff that's going to take you 24 hours, then you have to put it in this system that talks to that system, their ramp time is going to take 3 to 6 months, and it's going to be really detrimental to the business. Whereas if you have one consolidated end-to-end platform, right, it's pretty intuitive. It's much easier for someone not knowing much about the space to ramp, within a couple weeks to a month, ultimately. So we're talking a lot about that in the field with our larger clients about how they can bring on, they're hiring new classes to kind of fill a labor shortage, and they're talking a lot about how do we train them and get them up to speed as quick as possible and make sure they're doing the same thing in this state as the other state, right? So have one full process.
Consistency. And really that kind of goes back to what Mitch was saying about when we're talking about career technical education, really this generation expects technology. Right? They expect to be using technology in the field and to make their life easier. And so if we're on paper, which I know for the most part, we're past that. Right? As we are getting out there. Okay, well, to that point then, I like that point. Let's talk a little bit about this career and training, because training is so important. What are some of the things that you see are working for contractors on getting their teams trained, but also hiring and getting skilled labor into, because with immigration, we have even a bigger problem now. And so what are some of the things you're seeing? You want to start, Mitch?
Sure.
Sure, I can tell. Like, yes.
Well, I never miss an opportunity to talk, so yeah. It varies. I would say the consistent theme in training for most contractor bases is trial by fire. Again, I want to talk about what we should be doing, but I really want to focus on what is happening right now. And it is, we go out and we train so many different contractors, we do different things, and it's like, hey, go to this
2-hour-long product knowledge session with this manufacturer, this distributor, or whatever it might be, and then here's the keys to the car. Go sell some stuff,
right.
And just learn it as you go. I think the successful companies that we see are ones that work with the manufacturing partners, work with the distribution partners, work with the technology partners to create a holistic view of, all right, not only here's the information, but here's the resources that are available to you. The good manufacturers are the ones that can get as far downstream and work on the contractor base to help train and educate and get the people up to speed of where they need to be. That is leveraging the right tools. And sometimes we don't see that happen to where it's just the keys to the truck and go figure it out. But I think that, like I said, the successful companies that I see are the ones that really take that extra time to bridge the gaps and create that network that allows them to realize what resources are out there for them.
Yeah, and I think, manufacturers especially are doing so much hands-on training, but we're also seeing it from the associations, right? That we are seeing the FRSA has huge amounts of training here, NRCA with their pro certification, and we see it with the National Home Builders. Of course, they are doing training every single day out there. How can the manufacturers and technologies, but how can the manufacturers work closer with the associations to continue to help fill this pipeline of young people coming into the trades?
That's a fantastic question. So I love the company that I work for. Westlake really invests a lot into that future growth and future that's out there. We have partnered with a lot of different types of associations, right? There's obviously the Roofers Association, the NRCA, shout out to NRCA and the FRSA, to develop
certification programs and the ability to demonstrate your skills, which I think leads into initial training and opening the door for manufacturers to come in and get there as well. But then, looking at the NAHB, looking at the FHBA, looking at different home builders associations that are out there, I'm very proud to say I'm actively involved in a lot of the ones here in Florida, and they really focus hard on partnering with the Home Builder Institute, the HBIs, and these different organizations that are out there that have high school curriculums geared around this. I mean, I took a welding class in 8th grade and I was hooked.
Yeah.
But then after that, there was no follow-up and I lost it, right? I probably would have been a welder if there was a follow-up. If you get the tools in their hands and show them that, hey, the trades are cool. Like, this is not a one-stop career path of go to college and get a job in an office kind of situation. The trades can be a lot of fun, and you might really enjoy it. The earlier you can introduce that, the better. And so, to your point, I think partnering with the local associations and getting that support from the manufacturer to say, hey, we really need some material, we're trying to do a class. Or partnering with the roofer or the contractor to say, do you got some good trainers or some good crews that can maybe come in and talk to these kids for a little bit?
Yep.
Every level helps, and getting involved in local associations is how you take that next step.
And Eric, I would love you to talk about that. The same thing, the career, working with associations, and how important technology is to really that enticing that next generation.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there is a tremendous opportunity for everyone out there. Like, you got to know, like, you are not alone. You're not in this alone. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners feel like, it's just lonely at the top. But I would actually challenge that. There is a tremendous opportunity for all of you to get involved, to join the communities. I mean, at JobTread, we have what we call JobTread Pros. We have a community where all of our customers are there in our Facebook group, and like, they're helping each other. They're supporting each other. They can ask questions. They can, share ideas, best practices. They interact with our team, with each other. Like, it is the most incredible thing to see builders helping each other to learn and grow. But I think it goes, beyond just that. It's about getting involved with the manufacturers, with the associations. I mean, look at SRS. Like, look how many people they have brought out here to build relationships with you, to help you learn about their products and their services and what they can do. We're seeing that more and more. And like, those manufacturers who get out there, they have a lot of insight and a lot to offer. But it's up to you to walk in and to take that next step to get to know them and to figure out what resources can they provide. At the end of the day, like, they want nothing more than to see you be successful. And so, like, I think people need to tap into that a little bit more and make sure that you are leveraging all of these resources around you. I mean, it is an endless amount of knowledge and expertise, but you got to put yourself in the right position to capitalize on that. And I would also encourage you to invest in bringing your team, bring your people to, professional development events, bring them out to things like this, get involved in local events where, like, again, like, you got to level up. In this economy, when it's more challenging, more tough, like, invest in some sales training, some sales coaching. Make sure that you are firing on all cylinders, and you can do that by getting involved and looking outside your immediate network to go find others and just each other. Like, work together. This is a huge opportunity, a huge market, and a rising tide lifts all boats. There is enough opportunity for everyone. Like, you don't have to, just because that's your competitor right over there doesn't mean, like, you have to, like, not work with them. Like, you can work with them. You can collaborate, and I think that's how you're going to build the best business and keep leveling up year after year.
I love that. Yeah.
I would add to that. It's a great point with, a lot of the things that we see success with is in the field training, right? And software companies can't just sling software and step aside. They have to really partner with who they're working with, meet them where they're at, understand their workflow, and then we really focus on going on site as much as possible and doing training in the field, right? Because nothing beats face-to-face, right? Coming out of COVID, like, that was a whole disaster. Now we're at the point where we know face-to-face works, and you really get people to adopt the technology and use it, because people are going to be adverse at first, right? Like, change management is very hard. If you've been doing measuring roofs one way for 20 years, it's very hard to be like, oh, just plug in Hover. You have to really show it to them, show the benefits, and we find that you get a couple of your salespeople or reps to use it, right? And then they become the use case, and you roll it out from there. Yeah. But we find you have to be face-to-face to get it done right.
And it's really that next generation, too, that are expecting it, right? And I always say, and this is going a little bit different, but the Gen Zs have taught the Gen Xers how to do this, right? So it's not just one generation anymore. I think you have all generations are expecting these kind of technology-driven solutions where they can take a picture of their house and they can visualize it and they can see it, right? And they expect that from their contractors as they're going through, and obviously the before and after. So I love that. Okay, I want to talk just a little bit about sustainability, because sustainability has been one of those topics that is almost like on a roller coaster ride, right? I mean, depending on what's going on. And then with some of the changes we've seen this with this administration on some of the energy efficiency and different things, we're starting to see some differences, but it feels to me like sustainability, as we talked about at the beginning, durability, long-term performance is more important than ever, and that homeowners are kind of looking for sustainable solutions along with sustainable technology. So even though I know you don't take on, I'd like you to talk just a little bit about some of the homeowner expectations that you're seeing through your technology and kind of some of the things you're hearing.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Homeowners definitely expect, energy efficiency. They want to understand like what clean energy is. They want to. You're seeing solar panels become relevant in different, HVAC systems. So, for us as we go through the workflow, we're constantly understanding what our partners are seeing in the field. We don't have a ton of that built in the system today, but kind of as we evolve, we'll keep building products that are going to be more, more geared towards what the homeowner is looking for and what people want. As you mentioned, like the new generation coming up, they're way more tuned into that than people that own houses today. So much more relevant on the new construction side as well. We work a lot on the blueprint side, but you're seeing more there than in the current generation.
On what they're expecting. Yeah, and as we're looking at this trend, but I'm also going to say that people are asking for they're really looking for this inside-outside experience in their home, and they want it to be sustainable and healthy across the board. Eric, you have a really good insight to that because you get to see all these trades. What are you seeing on some of the homeowner demands around sustainability and that also outdoor living?
Yeah, I mean, look, the first thing I would say is, when you ask a customer what their budget is, they're almost always going to kind of give you the bottom of that range because they don't want the contractor to run away with it. At the end of the day, like, it's up to you to figure out where are the opportunities, where is the value that you can provide. And I think in order to really, drive the best products to your homeowners, to your customers, like it involves educating them. You have to make sure that they understand their options. They understand the differences between the products that you're giving them. I'm a big proponent of, again, allow them to make their own selections, the good, better, best model, but so much comes into the education where they understand the differences, they understand the quality and the different opportunities that they have, because a lot of times they don't. But when you take that little bit of extra time to educate them and help them see that, you never know what you're going to tap into. Again, it's not all about money. That might start the conversation, but I've seen so many times where our contractors are able to actually upsell their jobs, and they had no idea that was even in play or possible. But when you really get to the root of what are they passionate about, what are they truly looking for, and then even give them a bunch of optional upgrades that, again, they might have been there to get a new roof, and now you got them some gutters and you got them some additional products. Like, it comes down to that education and really getting to know your customers, listening to them, and making sure that you are delivering them the products that they need and they want.
Mitch, I'd really like you to, and you talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but I want to talk about this from a sustainability, what you're seeing around here, but also how weather, you talked about the storms, but how weather and insurance, I mean, you're right here in the middle of it, in Florida, are starting to really affect homeowners, building owners, and how homes are being built.
Well, and I think that levels into the question of what is sustainability, right? I think that there's the glaringly obvious part is what are the parts and pieces going into the manufacturing of the product that you're using? That's step one to sustainability. So, when you look at the product that you're using, even though it might be a virgin product in the manufacturing process, is it a sustainable product that can be recycled, right? Is it something that is used with recycled material in the initial phase of it? So a lot goes into the manufacturing aspect of the sustainability factor, and that's the glaringly obvious one that people, when you hear the word sustainability, your mind typically goes to that. I think the other side of sustainability that some people maybe not, they don't think about a lot is, to your point, the weather events, the things like that. And that's the drive of sustainability that is being driven and pushed in the remodel aspect, in the insurance conversation, that I was fortunate enough, I somehow got access to go into Sanibel Island right after Hurricane Ian. The amount of pure devastation, I mean, I literally teared up, because the amount of devastation, the amount of debris, the amount of things that were going into a landfill, we're not going to make it, that now that is turning that sustainability conversation into longevity and performance, right? That are you putting on a product that is going to be able to weather the storms? Because now you're talking sustainability from a landfill perspective. You're talking sustainability from an insurance perspective. What does that do to the cost of homeowners insurance and the overall economy state of that? Sustainability, insurance, economy, all kind of wrap and tie into one. And I think as a manufacturer and as a contractor, we owe it to ourselves to be able to try and strive for the most sustainability that we can.
As you talk about that too, I want to kind of hit on insurance, because I've been in
My
this.
favorite.
Yeah, your favorite topic. Yeah, I've been in this industry for a long time, and I can remember the days when the roofing industry in particular was going to the insurance companies and really trying to get those discounts, right? The homeowner discounts with the right class 400 plus wind warranties, and now everything has changed, and homeowners are now being actually forced to make different buying decisions because of deductibles and because of non-insurance. Mitch, where do you see that going? How can contractors kind of
How
work
much
with
time do we have?
homeowners? I know. I think we have about 15 minutes.
Yeah, no. Look, the insurance conversation is a very fluid conversation. And it has really had a spotlight shown on it within the last couple of years. And I think because of I'm going to call a spade, the history of abuse on the insurance aspect, right? Insurance is not the bad guy, as it is a lot of times portrayed to be. It can be, but in most cases, it's not. Right? I think that we've seen a long history of a lack of accountability on the insurance aspect when these devastating storms and things like that are happening, that has now driven into the state that we're in currently. 2024, we had over 65 insurance writers just stop writing policies in the state of Florida, right? They had to go over to Citizens, they had to go into that pool. We are course correcting. I was attending a summit with the Florida Chamber, shout out to the Florida Chamber, where they discussed that Citizens actually is at their lowest insured rate in like the last 25 years. So we're course correcting on that aspect because of some policies and procedures that have been put into place with that. It's going to hurt. We're going to feel that effect for quite a while. As you start talking now about the letters that homeowners are getting, right, of, hey, this is aged out, you got to replace it. That's the job, I think, of the education side, to be able to get out in front of them and educate these writers, educate the insurance companies on what the performance products are with these different things, and being able to differentiate.
Yeah.
And being able to show the value that I'm putting on a superior product that is meant to last, and so you need to reward the homeowner because of that.
And they're going to save, that homeowner is going to save money down the road.
Absolutely.
100% with how everything is going, and as it probably should. Okay, so technology-wise on insurance, Eric, we have a lot of contractors, whether it's full home replacements, roofs, siding, it doesn't matter, pools, who are needing to use technology in order to make sure that they are getting everything there for the homeowner and for themselves that is necessary, and working with those insurance companies. Where are you at that, and kind of what are you hearing there?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you got to play the game, right? It's all about getting organized, creating the documentation that you need to help get these claims pushed through. You know, the documentation, the photos, the files, like everything needs to be very, very detailed, very well organized. You know, at the end of the day, that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, again, having great, technology. I mean, even just how Hover and JobTread are integrated. You know, being able to capture all that information, have those details that you need. I mean, that is going to make the biggest difference. You know, I just had my roof replaced. You know, you go through multiple rounds of dealing with the insurance, but like, it's all about having that centralized and archived so that when you need it, you have the supporting evidence of what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Hover's at a really unique point. We sit at the intersection of construction and insurance. We work with 9 of the top 10 insurance carriers across the U.S. And what we're seeing is, increased pressure on claims and the process. And what that's doing is that's delaying, obviously, payments, or they're not agreeing on the right payment from the construction company to the insurance company. And the homeowner gets hurt in this process, right? The homeowner has to wait to get a new roof 2 months, and it should take a week or 2. But we're at a very unique point in time where we think technology can solve this. We had our first summit ever last year with the top insurance companies and the top contractors in the U.S. And we believe that if you can have a third party be the source of truth behind the measurements and what the actual damage is, can you get to a point where you have a standard rate card of what should be replaced and what happens there? That could be instantaneous, and you could have the homeowner back in their house within a week versus, a few months. So I think, at Hover, personally, we're definitely marching that direction. We're sitting between both of them, but that's a huge opportunity, we think, for the entire industry.
And don't you think, Chris, that a lot has changed with how the it feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, but for a long time, homeowners or building owners have taken pictures on the interiors and sent them to their insurance companies to be able to, if your dishwasher has water all over the floor, they take the pictures, they get it there, they maybe get an adjuster, it gets a little bit faster. We haven't done that on the exterior as fast, but that's what's changing, right?
Yeah. The whole workflow is what has to be reworked there, because the roofer, the construction company, they have their own process, and the insurance company has a totally different one.
Right.
And those don't always overlap and sync well, right? So that's where you get the he said, she said, and they don't agree on what was damaged or what the ultimate measurements are. Mm-hmm. And that's difficult to solve unless you have technology to do that.
Right, and documentation, to your point, is so important. Okay, I want to talk just a little bit about, along with insurance, but just overall what we're seeing in the industry around regulations. There's a lot going on. Look, Mitch is like all excited again. There's a lot going on with regulations and actually being rolled back. Heat stress is being rolled back. We have some regulations that contractors are dealing with and trying to, through OSHA and all of that. So, Chris, you said you might want to pass the mic on this one, but let's start with Mitch down there and talk about it.
I'm excited about it, yeah.
Yeah.
All good.
I get excited about this.
Yeah.
Look, I get excited about government affairs, and I don't know why, but this goes back to my original point of getting involved with the local associations, because their entire existence is around going to fight these regulations. So you talked about the heat stroke regulation getting rolled back.
Right.
There was the windborne debris in Florida that was going to extend the amount of windborne debris, where basically every Florida home would need hurricane-impacted windows and higher wind uplift on the roofs and things like that. And it would have driven up the cost of affordable housing. And so those fights and those rollbacks didn't just happen because suddenly a congressman woke up and went, you know what, maybe this wasn't a good idea, right? They are fought at the battles of the local associations, whether that be FRSA or FHBA or the NAHB or the NRCA. They're going to Tallahassee, they're going to Washington, D.C., they're sitting down with these representatives and they're talking about it to fight it and roll it back. Now let's get into talking about what that actually means for the home building and the construction process. That I was given a training and a speech up in the Carolinas, I don't remember exactly where they asked how long it should take to put on one of our roofs. And I gave them the answer and they looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, well, what about your inspections? And they were like, well, what are you talking about inspections? What are you talking about permit? Right? That I think that there's a balance. There has to be that level of accountability, but then there's a level that it's taken too far. when I talk to people about Florida roofing that aren't from Florida, that it's like, well, you got to do a nail-off inspection, you got to get a dry-in inspection, you got to get an in-progress inspection, then your final inspection. You got 4 inspections before I can even get that completed, and you're waiting on that inspector to show up to do that. You're delaying your job, which means you're delaying your crew, which means you're costing yourselves money. So there is an over-regulated side of that. The home building construction process is a whole nother beast of, it's almost $100,000 in regulatory fees before a shovel even hits the dirt. So how do we fight that to create an affordable housing category? Because everyone wants to talk about affordable housing, but what they don't want to talk about is all these back-end things. They just want to point to the contractor or point to the manufacturer and say, well, you're just charging too much, right? But that's not the case when you actually look at all these regulatory things that go into that. So there's a balance of accountability, but then there's an over-regulation side where there's got to be a middle ground there.
Yeah, I want to your point, I want to say that Roofing Day is coming up in Washington, D.C. in April, and it's so critical. And I know National Home Builders also has a Home Builders Day that I'm not sure when that is, but Roofing Day is coming up, and one of their big topics, or their 3 big topics, are immigration, housing, and career technical education. So
quick plug to that.
Yeah.
If you are thinking about it or you haven't thought about it, look into Roofing Day in Washington, D.C. Look into the NAHB's Day in Washington, D.C., because there is nothing greater. You may have no idea what you're going up there to talk about, but there is power in numbers. When you go up to these areas and you see some of the other lobbyists that have crowds of people that have no idea what they're there for other than to chant one simple slogan.
yeah.
Look into it, and I would really encourage people to get as involved as possible into that.
Mitch, I do have to say there is a contest right now on Riffers Coffee Shop and all the coffee shop platform to send somebody to Roofing Day expense-free. Airfare, hotel, the whole 9 yards. So, there.
I'll have to check with
Shameless plug.
Westlake on that one.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. Okay, I want to talk just a little bit, too, about this advocacy and being involved with associations. I know we talked about that a little bit more, but from what you're seeing, Eric, out there across trades, I want to kind of talk about that across trades, that people, I think, sometimes just think it doesn't matter, right? My voice isn't going to be heard, but it is, and it is so important. Talk a little bit about what you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta believe that, even though you think your voice isn't being heard, that's what it takes, is people to show up day after day and continue to advocate for the things that you need, the things that are going to help you. I can tell you, we can directly see a correlation when contractors get involved in association groups and coaching groups and whatever it may be. There is a direct correlation between how they're performing, and then boom, there's just this weight gets lifted off their shoulders. They're now connected to other builders who are going through the same things, or they've already been through those challenges. It's just you got to go and work together, learn from each other. Don't just sit in a silo by yourself. That is not how you're going to grow your business. And these associations, again, are providing just endless resources to help you be successful. That is their mission. That is their mandate. So, again, go get involved, because I can tell you it makes a huge difference on the trajectory of your business.
Everything. And Chris, I just want to talk a little bit about IBHS. So the insurance, where you kind of come into this parallel, you have groups out there who are working with both insurance and contractors on legislation to make it fair and easy. I don't know how much you're involved in that, but it is a powerhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it starts with getting them to want to work with each other, which we're now seeing. Like I mentioned, we had a summit where we had CEOs from the largest construction companies and the largest insurance carriers. That's probably the first of its kind, right? So it starts there with that. They're showing mutual agreement to want to work together, and then obviously all the regulation behind that will follow. But it starts with them actually wanting to get there, and they're at that point for sure.
Yeah, that's what I think is important. Okay, I want to kind of wrap up, but I want to bring, as a last thought, and Chris, I'd like to start with you, is advice to the contractors out there, whether they're builders, outdoor living, sub-trades with roofing, siding, whatever, as they're looking at their business and walking the show, how they can diversify their offerings. How can they start maybe looking at that outdoor living space or maybe looking at that kitchen space, because to expand their business into everything that's here. What are some of your suggestions?
Yeah, we've been in the field a ton this year on site with our customers, and there's three things that currently resonate and we hear again and again. One is visualization. I've hit that pretty hard today, but it matters, right? So doesn't have to be hover, having some kind of visual product that you can show people and they can see it and feel it, it's really gonna help them make a decision and commit ultimately. The second one is transparency. Right, in today's world, it's huge. Look, you can go online and look anything up, or ChatGPT anything in a second, right? So, I think being transparent with the end user, the homeowner, showing them different options, not trying to jam them into one bucket. Show them different options of roofing or siding. Show them, different proposals. Here's maybe an upgraded one, or here's a regular one. And the third thing is speed, right? And people expect things fast now. You see that in obviously the kid generation, like everything's instant, which is terrible. But ultimately, you have to be quick to quote, not just to get the roof up, but to quote. So you should no longer be taking 2 days to do a takeoff and give them a quote. That should be happening same day, and that's where people are winning the jobs versus people who delay it.
Yeah, so true, so true. Eric, what are some of your? Like I said, you see all trades. How can contractors add to that and also see success overall in where they're at right now?
Yeah, again, it's getting to know your customers, having those relationships where you can tap into, asking them, like, what else are you guys needing? Like, what are the other projects that we might be able to help you, get this done? Like, at the end of the day, like, the homeowner would rather work with as few people as possible. They want to have a trusted resource, a trusted contractor who's going to give them the experience that they're demanding. Again, transparency, pricing, being able to articulate your value and how you can help them achieve their goals. That's how you're going to learn. But if you don't ask, if you don't dig in, you're not going to know where to focus. And so I think it all comes back to, education, making sure that you've got a great website that showcases your best work, have professional photos, showing those case studies, showing the problem that your customers had and how you came in and delivered a solution and why it worked out so well for them. I think that's going to help you continue to grow and continue to get into new areas, new trades. But it's all about getting to know your customers and knowing your market and what the needs and the opportunities are.
And you make me think of one thing too. When you talk about relationships, it's also building those relationships with other trades. So maybe you aren't thinking about adding pools, that would be a big jump, but you're going to know the pool person in that area and be able to have some of those relationships to be able to spread the business and also be able to track that.
Yeah, and that's what's so neat about the job trade community. We do have, a wide array of different types of trades, from home builders, to remodelers, to roofers, to, pools, decks, you name it. And the neat thing is, at our annual user conference, we had, it's over 1,400 people came from all over the world to Dallas in January. And again, there's so many things that you can learn from other types of businesses that you might not have thought about, and they give you those creative, innovative ways. But the partnerships that we're seeing being formed with our customers, again, maybe you've got your wheelhouse, your bread and butter, but there might be other opportunities to bring in someone else that in your local community. You never know when they're going to be able to bring you into a deal. And so when you have that reciprocal relationship with others in your community, your trade partners, things like that, that's how you're going to continue to grow and get more and more opportunities.
Yeah, it's so true. Okay, Mitch, bring us home. I do want to mention that Westlake has across the board, stone, everything else. So
every piece matters.
So working with your manufacturers, they might be able to help you get involved in other.
Well, to summarize, right, what would be my recommendation to contractors? It's pretty simple. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Right? I can't tell you the amount of people that I deal with that they might be a shingle roofer, or they might be a stucco guy, or something along those lines. Do not be afraid to look at what else is out there and to adapt and to change with what the market is demanding, and diversify. There's a lot of people that get scared about that,
yeah,
and they don't want to expand into a different product category. So do not be afraid and look at who you're partnering with. Because, again, to your point, yes, I'm up here because of Westlake, so I'm going to give the shout out to the booth over there. That when you go over into that booth, there's roofing products, there's siding products, there's trim, there's all kinds of stuff. So, you know, have the opportunity in the conversations with our local team to be able to tell you how we can help you diversify.
Right.
How can we help you get into another product category you may not have even thought about before? So don't be afraid on the manufacturing side, on the product side. Don't be afraid of technology. Adapt it, embrace it. It's here, it's in front of us.
Yeah.
And lean on the partners to build the relationships to help bring you to where you need to go.
I think one of the nuggets that I heard here today was you have that relationship with the homeowner or the building owner. They don't want to have a huge amount of people. They want to have that trust with you. This is how you can do it. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. What a great conversation. Loved it.
Just in time for the Jock Jams to start
Just in time, right over there. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us on Coffee Conversations. So for all of you out there, please follow us. And for all of you, please follow us on rooferscoffeeshop.com. We'll be seeing you again soon.
Thank you so much, guys.